Let's have a bit of fun. Instead of plotting your current stakeholders in your current business, let's pretend we're in Hollywood and we've been asked to put together a management team that has the sort of the cliche characteristic where every person on the management team is a cliche of that type. So what are we going to do to do that? Well, first we'll draw a little matrix here where we'll use two of the dimensions of Myers-Briggs, T versus F, so hard-headed versus a bit more friendly and diplomatic, and then J versus P, which is quite organized versus a bit more option-rich. And then to kind of add a bit more complexity, let's put a square in the middle where we put the extroverts, and towards the outside we'll put the introverts. So when we have done that, you go, okay, what is the classic CEO? Well, as you remember from Myers-Briggs, ENTJ is the classic CEO type, so let's pick an ENTJ for the CEO. Then we're going to plot the finance director, and finance directors are, or the cliched one might be a bit more ISTJ, so a bit more introvert, a bit more precise, but equally quite analytical and very organized. Okay. Now we're at it, we need to put a marketing director. Okay, we need someone a bit more flamboyant, a bit more pizzazz. Well, that's what ENFPs do, you know, the rock star frontman, or the rock band frontman. Now let's put a strategist. Strategist a bit more rational, quite flexible, maybe a bit more reserved. Okay, we've got your INTP here. HR director, someone who, you know, INFJs, who has a real sense of tribe and looking after his or her people and defending them with their life, a la Gandhi or Nelson Mandela. And then if we continue, now let's plot the rest of the senior team, and we've got, you know, the legal, which is more ISTP. You know, I spot the problem. New ventures, classically NTP, come up with lots of new ideas. The creative, a bit more the ISFP. I see a lot, but I don't share much until I have something really unique to share, etc., etc. And when you have all of that, you know, if you're sort of now, please. For a second, I'm not saying that every title should be of a given Myers-Briggs type. I'm just saying I'm doing the other way around. You know, we're doing the Hollywood casting. We're going, if we're going to put a cliched version of a salesperson, then ENFJ is probably the, you know, I can sell anyone anything. It's probably the right type, etc. So we're just having a bit of fun here. Now, nevertheless, now let's take back Myers-Briggs. Now we've plotted a bit these people. Let's now look at NLP. What would be the information preference we would have for them? Well, typically, you know, you have a lot of digital people who want to know facts, finance, operation, IT, legal, new ventures, etc., etc. And you have slightly more kinesthetic people who want experiences and human interaction, HR, sales, marketing, creative, etc. If we have the second layer, we're going to look now at their visual or auditory preferences. And so typically, again, in our slightly cliched Hollywood casting, the CEO, new venture, strategy, marketing, and IT guys would be very much driven by visuals, whereas all the others would probably have a preference for words. And if you pause for a second here, the reason one might have that sort of slightly cliched view is you think about the inputs and the outputs of every function. If you think about finance, actually, let's look at the next slide. If you look finance here, we've got finance as digital and auditory. It's really talking about numbers all the time. IT is more visual and digital. It's sort of envisaging how data flows. At the other end, marketing is visual and kinesthetic, is looking at stuff that make you feel good. Whereas maybe the sales is a bit more auditory and kinesthetic, which is talking to people and noticing their feelings. So there's a reason why we would sort of put this slightly cliched combination, which is, as I mentioned, the input and output of his jobs. How does the information come to you, and how do you share it with others? Okay. Now, if we go back, we re-add Myers-Briggs with the J, P, T, F, E, and obviously the I's, which are all around the box. And what you find here is an extraordinary diverse combination. So, if anything, two messages from that. First is, you can put together some sort of standard management team by putting people from different types in different jobs and checking what the preferences are for each. And then the second comment is, can you spot from that why management teams typically have such great difficulties working together? Doesn't mean they're not productive, but what they find is an extreme frustration at interacting with each other all the time, as opposed to interacting with their departments. Why? Because people have different value systems. They have different preferences in terms of organization and flexibility, or hard-headed and diplomacy, but they also have different preferences in the formats they use to relate to each other and to share information. Okay, so just a bit of fun, but hopefully that sort of makes the case a little bit for the importance of plotting the specific stakeholders that you're dealing with in your current context, whether it's your team, or the senior management team in your company, or clients or investors.